after God, but they're patterning themselves after the world and leading a flock of people. Are you listening? God's desire is that we raise up some men and some women who can be the pattern cutters rather than just falling into the patterns of the world. There are those that only live after the pattern, those that are looking at Christians and the church leadership as their paradigm on how they should live. But what kind of Christian do we produce? The patterns of the cross that are available unto us themselves are tainted, tarnished, and perverse. You know, we need some people like Paul. Let's look over here in Philippians chapter 3 and verse 10, and I'm going to once again read this out of the Amplified. We need some men and some women of God that know God's voice and hear it, that aren't ashamed to stand up and stand strong in the midst of the culture of this world. Paul says it like this, and I know it's hard to read because I wanted to fit it all into one screen. Hopefully you can see it. But this is what it says. Paul says, "For my determined purpose is that I may know Him." Wouldn't it be nice to follow some people that know God? And that their determined purpose is to know God. If we could follow people like that, we could pattern our lives after them. Don't you think? That my determined purpose is that I may know Him. That I may progressively become more deeply and intimately acquainted with Him. Is that your desire? The world's looking for a pattern. How about you? I said, how about you? I said, how about you? Why don't you become the pattern? Why don't you be like Paul and deeply and intimately desire to know Him? I was listening to Dr. Lester Summerall, and from time to time I like to dig up some of his old messages and just to hear them. Man, challenges my spirit all the time. He was talking to a group of Bible college students, and he said, you know, you're only young once. He's speaking as it is actually in the last months of his life. In 1996, he's speaking to Bible college students. He's there probably 80-some years old. I can't remember exactly how old, but 80-some years old when he died. And he spoke and he said, you're only young once. You won't believe how quickly you'll get old. The reason you are where you are right now is because you made a decision to be there. Whether you like it or not, where you are right now, you decided to be there. The only thing that will get you any place else is by making another decision. He says, use your time wisely. Use your time wisely. If you want to know God better in the future than what you do right now, then you should spend your time getting to know Him. Are you hearing it? If you want to know God better than what you do right now, what decision are you going to make to do so? He said, stop watching television, wasting your time watching television all the time. He said, there's nothing but rubbish on there. This is his words. There's nothing but rubbish on there except on my station where I preach every morning. How much time do we waste in the things of the world rather than seeking God? How much time do we waste and we say we want to know God? Is this really your desire? God's looking for a new paradigm. He's looking for a new pattern. He's trying to find somebody that'll be a pattern to the world of how to live righteous, how to pray, how to live by faith. He's looking for a pattern. Paul says that I may progressively become more deeply and intimately acquainted with Him. Perceiving and recognizing and understanding the wonders of His person. This is a prayer, man. I'm telling you, this you can make this your prayer. And that I may in that same way come to know the power outflowing from his resurrection. Man, I want to not only know his person, but I want to get acquainted with his power. I not only want to know who he is, but I want to be acquainted with the power of the Holy Spirit. That I may know the power outflowing from his resurrection, which he exerts over believers. Man, I just get a vision of God in all of his power, just exerting this power into the believers. He's waiting for you to press into him so he can pour out his power into you. Oh God, that we might know you more. Oh God, that we might hunger for you. Oh Lord, that we would be willing to lay down the patterns of this world to get a hold of you like this. And that I may know, or that I may, in the same way, come to know the power outflowing from his resurrection, which is exerted over believers, that I may so share his sufferings as to be continually transformed in spirit into his likeness, even to his death, in the hope that, if possible, I may attain to the spiritual and moral resurrection that lifts me out from among the dead, even while in the body. Praise the one who paid my debt and raised this life up from the dead. Do you realize Paul is saying this? Paul's giving us a paradigm. This is before he said what I just read a little while ago. This is what Paul's desire is. He's saying, this is what I am. This is who I am. This is my desire. Follow me. Follow those that are going after the same things that I'm patterning for you. Follow after those that search God greater than they search after the world. Follow those that pray. Follow those that fast. Follow those that worship, that minister, that hunger for the Lord. And especially those that hunger after his power and after the mighty working hand of God. That I might be resurrected and lifted out of this death, even while I'm still alive. I want you to get this revelation because it exploded in me as the Lord was speaking this to me. Sometimes we say in the sweet by and by, we're going to get resurrected. What a glorious day that will be. Right? With my Jesus I shall see. When I look into his face, the one who saved me by his grace. He takes me by the hand and leads me to the promised land. What a day. A glorious day that will be. Yes, it will be glorious. Why? Because at that time in our own minds, we think someday we will lay down the corruption of this world. Someday we will lay down the body that is tainted with sin. Someday we will be transformed and changed in the image of God's dear Son. Someday, and God says, why not right now? There'll be a day when we'll all die and we'll lay down the earthly body and we'll take on a new heavenly body. And Paul says, let me read it for you exactly the way it's said right here. One more time. That I might share in the sufferings as to be continually transformed. Somebody say transformed. In spirit into his likeness, even to his death, in the hope that if possible, I may attain to the spirit and moral resurrection that lifts me out from among the dead, even while in my body. Be resurrected while you're still alive. Why wait until the sweet by and by to lay down corruption? Why don't you lay it down right now? Hello, somebody.